Yes.
Okay. All right. So today we're going to start with respiration. Okay. Now, this is my question to everyone. Is there a difference between breathing and respiration? Yes or no? Or is it like, are they the same thing? Just 1 second. Yes. Yes, tell me. Is there a difference between respiration and breathing? Or are they the same thing?
One is physical and the other is chemical, but
Hmm. That's true. See, respiration and breathing, both of them are like completely different things from each other. How? Because breathing, when we talk about breathing, it is the exchange of gases, wherein what we do, we take in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. That is breathing, simply. Okay, the exchange of gases. Now, talking about respiration. See, respiration is when the food particles that we eat or the things like whenever a biomolecule is broken in order to release energy, as you said that it is a chemical process, correct? It is. When any biomolecule is broken down so as to release energy, we call that process as respiration. Clear? Now,
yes, ma'am.
we know that glucose, it is a carbohydrate and it is the food product of the plant, right? C6H12O6, it is what the plants make after the photosynthesis has been done. Now this glucose gets, like, see, during the process of respiration, this glucose gets converted into pyruvic acid or pyruvate. Okay, and that process wherein this happens is known as glycolysis, wherein glycolysis, it is the partial breakdown of glucose in an anaerobic condition to form pyruvic acid or pyruvate. Now, there are two types of conditions. Or respiration can happen in two ways. Okay, one is when oxygen is present. We'll call that aerobic respiration. One where oxygen is absent, it's not present, we'll call that anaerobic respiration. So talking about glycolysis, it is a kind of anaerobic respiration wherein the oxygen is absent, and during the absence of oxygen, during an anaerobic condition, the partial breakdown of glucose molecule happens into pyruvic acid. Clear? And two molecules of pyruvic acid are formed from one molecule of glucose. Another thing to remember over here is that glucose is a 6-carbon compound, C6. The pyruvic acid is 3-carbon compound. So that is why two molecules of pyruvic acid are made. Now this process of glycolysis, it takes place in the cytoplasm. Now everyone knows about cytoplasm.
Yeah.
What is cytoplasm? Tell me. Cytoplasm, which part of cell is the cytoplasm or what happens in there?
It basically has all the cell organelles and stuff, and like
Right,
the liquid and of the cell. I guess.
correct. Yes, every single, see, first of all, it is the matrix of the cell, right? Every single cell organelle is present in the cytoplasm. Another very important thing about this is that the cytoplasm is that area of the cell wherein every single activity of the cell will take place. Every single activity. Okay. So the glycolysis, this process takes place in the cytoplasm. Okay, because cytoplasm is the arena of all the cellular activities. Clear? Now, After this pyruvic acid or pyruvate has been formed, what happens? After this pyruvic acid or pyruvate has been formed, it has to undergo certain different stages. Okay, so the pyruvic acid, after being formed, it either undergoes anaerobic respiration furthermore, or it undergoes the process of proper fermentation. Okay, and this thing that is right there on your screen, it is the fate of pyruvic acid. So pyruvic acid can undergo alcoholic fermentation, it can undergo lactic acid fermentation. Okay, so alcoholic fermentation, lactic acid fermentation, and then there is aerobic respiration. So these three things that you're seeing, the three pathways that the pyruvic acid undergoes, these three pathways, we'll call it as the fate of pyruvic acid. Like, okay, a question can come to our mind as to, okay, pyruvic acid has been formed. Now, what is the use? Where will it be needed? Why is pyruvic acid being formed? So, when the pyruvic acid has been formed, it will undergo variety of steps, such as shown on your screen. So, when you're noting this down, note this first. Okay, this part. So, the fate of pyruvic acid is either it can go undergo alcoholic fermentation, lactic acid fermentation, aerobic respiration. Okay, this much is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, when the pyruvic acid undergoes alcoholic fermentation. Okay, now see, fermentation is a process which happens under anaerobic condition. Okay, now this pyruvic acid, which is a 3-carbon molecule, gets converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide. And ethanol is an alcohol. Okay, so like normally when alcoholic drinks are made, okay, for example, if someone is making alcoholic drink at home, okay, so after the fermentation process, this ethanol only will be released. Okay, so this is alcoholic fermentation. And always remember one thing, that alcoholic fermentation is an anaerobic respiration type. This much is clear?
Yes.
All right. Now, the next thing that the the pyruvic acid undergoes is like this thing. See, in the muscle cells of human beings. Okay, see, whenever we do excessive exercise, whenever we run a lot, we feel like we are going out of breath. Have you ever felt like, when you run like repeatedly and all of a sudden when you start running very fast, your legs starts tightening? Have you ever felt that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, why does that happen? See, when we do a lot of exercise, when we run a lot, jump a lot, so during that condition, an anaerobic condition is created. Why? Because you might have felt that whenever we run or whenever we do any sort of exercise, we run like we run out of air. We start breathing heavily. Have you felt that?
Yeah.
So why does that happen? It happens because during the extraneous, a lot of exercise and stuff, absence of oxygen takes place, meaning in that particular time being, anaerobic condition arises, because of which what happens in the muscle cells of humans, the pyruvic acid or the pyruvate gets converted into lactic acid along with energy. Okay, so this process is known as lactic acid fermentation. Clear?
Yes.
Now, whenever that pyruvic acid will be provided with oxygen or aerobic condition, then this pyruvic acid will undergo the aerobic respiration. Clear? Whenever oxygen will be provided to it, then the pyruvic acid will undergo aerobic respiration. But remember one thing, that for the process of aerobic respiration to occur, like, okay, first question, after glycolysis has been done, where is the pyruvic acid present? Tell me. After the pyruvic acid formation, meaning glycolysis has been done, where is the pyruvic acid present in the cell? Tell me the location.
Cytoplasm.
Cytoplasm. Now see, the alcoholic fermentation, the lactic acid fermentation, both of these two types of fermentation happens in the cytoplasm only. But I'm talking now about the aerobic respiration. When oxygen is present, at that point of time, what happens? Firstly, the pyruvic acid from the cytoplasm gets transported into the mitochondria. Everyone remembers mitochondria from class 9?
Yeah.
The powerhouse of the cell?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this aerobic respiration, it happens in the mitochondria. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
All right. And this one more thing, this process of fermentation is very famously done by the yeast, which is a unicellular fungus. Now, you might have heard about like when people make certain like breads, right? Nutritional yeast is added. Have you heard about this? Like
Yes,
yeast
sir.
powder is there, yeast powder is added. Why is it added? So that it can cause fermentation in there. And because of fermentation, CO2 will be released, right? So when CO2 will be released, then the risening of the bread would happen. The holes in the bread are because of the production of CO2. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now see, in all of these process, the ultimate goal is to have energy or to get energy. Now what is energy? Energy comes in the form of ATP because we know that ATP is the energy currency of our cell. Now, whenever this ATP is broken down, okay, whenever it is broken down, meaning just like how hydrolysis of water was happening, meaning the breakdown of water. Now, when the breakdown of ATP will happen, it would release into a lot of energy. And we know that when ATP is broken down, it will be broken down into its constituents, that is ADP and inorganic phosphate. So this process wherein the ATP gets converted into ADP and inorganic phosphate. So we'll call it as ATP breakdown. But when ADP plus inorganic phosphate gives rise to ATP, that is ATP synthesis. Clear?
What is ADP again?
Yes. First of all, do you people remember the full form of ATP?
Yes.
What is it?
Adenosine triphosphate.
Very good. Adenosine triphosphate. That is ATP. Now, when you remove one phosphate from it, then that becomes ADP, that is adenosine diphosphate. Okay. This is the reason why whenever we want to synthesize ATP, we add one inorganic phosphate to ADP. Then only it becomes ATP. The T is for tri, that is 3 phosphates. The D is for di, that is 2. Clear? The respiration process, the whole entire thing is clear to you people?
Yes.
Any doubts? What about the others? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Harshit, Nabila, do you people have any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Very good. So with this, we have completed the respiration aspect of the life processes. Now we'll move on to the proper breathing and exchange of gases and how that happens in our body. We'll see that. Then we'll see the various, like the transportation process after the oxygen is inside our body. How will it get transferred? That is also something that we're going to study. Okay, for now, you people note down up till here. Also tell me when you're done, then I'll scroll the screen.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, what is respiration and breaking down of?
Yes, just like how the breathing was the physical exchange of gases, respiration means it is that breakdown of biomolecules to release energy. Any kind of biomolecule, most importantly, it is carbohydrate.
Okay, I could not read it.
Oh, okay, that's biomolecule. Like this is for all everyone in the class. If you have a problem understanding my handwriting, you can ask me, okay?
Sure, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Everyone's done?
No, ma'am, please wait.
Okay, okay, I'm waiting, I'm waiting.
Oh, yes, ma'am, done.
Done.
Done? Everyone's done?
Yeah.
Yes. सलाद बना देना मेरे लिए कोई बात
Ma'am, why have you specified muscle cells of humans?
Yes, I have specified this muscle cells of human because this lactic acid fermentation takes place there only. It does not take place elsewhere. The best
Oh,
example for where it takes place is this. Okay.
okay, ma'am. Thank you.
done ma'am
Okay. Everyone's done?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So after that has been done, now we'll move on to the breathing aspect of it. Okay. Now, to begin with, okay, this is really cluttered, but let's mark it like this. Okay. So we take in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. That's how we breathe, right? Now there is a whole entire pathway that happens in our body, the pathway of oxygen. So oxygen primarily is present in the atmosphere. That's from where we take it in. Now, from the air, the oxygen is taken in with the help of our nostrils. Then after our nostrils, it would go into the nasal chamber or the passage, this particular area. Then from there, it will go into the larynx. From the larynx, it will go into the trachea. That is the larynx. For first pharynx, then trachea, then to the bronchi. And then this bronchi gets divided into primary and secondary. And ultimately, all of it will reach into the alveoli. Now, always remember this one thing, that the alveoli, it is the site of exchange of gases. Meaning this up until now, the whole from the outside up until the bronchi, it is the conducting pathway. The air is conducted in such a way. Now, what happens is that after the bronchi divides into primary and secondary, lastly there is the tiny bronchi that is known as the bronchioles, which will lead into the alveoli. Now, alveoli is richly supplied with blood vessels. It is surrounded by blood vessels. It has a very thin membrane. Alveoli has a very thin membrane. It is surrounded by blood vessels. And since it is surrounded by blood vessels, that is the reason why it is an excellent site for exchange of gases. If you want to say that anything to be exchanged, the membrane has to be extremely thin. Then only it can move from here to down there, right? Same thing happens for alveoli. Alveoli is the site of exchange of oxygen. Clear? This much
Yes,
is
sir.
clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now since the alveoli, it is a balloon-like structure. Remember that it is a balloon-like structure, and since it is richly supplied with blood vessels, meaning it is directly, it has blood vessels surrounding it, means blood is there. Now, our blood contains hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a component of a blood, the red pigment that our blood, it's red. Why is it red? Because of the presence of hemoglobin. Now, the oxygen that is taken in, it binds with the hemoglobin and forms oxyhemoglobin. And then this oxygen, with the help of the blood or with the help of the hemoglobin in the form of oxyhemoglobin, is distributed to the whole body. Clear? The blood, after it gets supplied with oxygen, then the blood gets distributed in the whole entire body, because our whole body, in our whole body, the blood is circulated everywhere, and that blood only will take the oxygen to the different parts of the body. So inside the blood, we know that there are RBC, red blood cells. Now, why they are known as red blood cell is because they contain a red pigment that is known as hemoglobin. And this hemoglobin, we can call it as the carrier of oxygen. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any doubts up till now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But remember one thing, that it's not just the oxygen that will be carried by the hemoglobin. Carbon dioxide is also carried by the hemoglobin. Okay. So as soon as this thing, the oxygen enters into our body, lastly, it would reach the alveoli, and then from the alveoli, it will combine with the hemoglobin and form oxyhemoglobin. Now, this oxyhemoglobin will be responsible for the distribution of the whole entire oxygen to the body parts. Clear? Now, how is the blood transported or distributed in the whole entire body? For that comes the transportation system, the circulatory system. But before that, you must remember one thing, that blood is considered as the fluid connective tissue. You might remember it from class 9, right? It is a
Yes, sir.
fluid connective tissue. Yes. Now, blood has certain components, right? First, there is the matrix of the blood, that is the plasma. Now, the plasma, it is colorless fluid, and it is responsible for the transportation of food, CO2, and nitrogenous waste. Apart from the ground substance of the blood, there are certain cells that are present in the blood, such as WBCs, RBCs, and platelets. Now, do you know the scientific or the biological name of WBCs?
White blood cells, ma'am.
No, white blood cell is the English name. What is the biological name? Anyone? Any idea?
No, ma'am.
See, leukocytes. Leukocytes is WBC. RBC is erythrocytes. And okay, now anyone remembers what is the function of the blood platelets?
When they get a wound, that time they like uh make a scab over it or something to like protect.
Correct. See, whenever we get a cut or any injury in our body, at that point of time, what happens is that blood clotting happens. Like whenever we get a cut in our body, our blood does not keep on flowing for the whole entire day, isn't it? It stops after a while, depending upon the size of the cut. So why does it stop? Because of the platelets. What does the platelets do? It clots the blood. The blood clotting mechanism is done by the platelets, which is very essential for life. Or else, if we ever get a cut, we'll keep on bleeding for the rest of our life, isn't it? So this is why the platelets are important. Now, WBCs, the white blood cells, they are important for immunity aspect, because whenever there is any foreign particle in our body, the WBCs will fight with them. Okay, so it fights the infectious agents. RBC, you know that since it carries hemoglobin, so it is responsible for the transportation of oxygen. Clear? Any doubts up till now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, you people note down up till here. Wait. Is my screen visible to you people?
Yes, ma'am.
Note it down up till here. Okay. Also, another thing to remember over here is that all of this entire pathway, for example, the throat area, okay, or the trachea, see, all of it has cartilaginous rings, because of which it does not allow it to collapse. Okay, we'll discuss more about it, but first you note it down till here because not a lot of time is left, but we'll discuss about it. Okay, first you note this much, then we'll carry on. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes.
what is residual volume?
Yes, we'll come on to that. Leave that for now. Right. Now just write the conduction part. Okay, I'll explain everything.
Okay, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Everyone's done?
Ma'am,
Okay.
done.
All right. Now we will see in more detailed about the respiratory system. Now, here the first thing we know that the human respiratory system, it will involve certain components such as the conducting pathway that you have written. So we'll write that in proper language also, that the human respiratory system involves the nose. Also, do you people know why our nose has nasal hair? Any idea? Like
Oh,
everyone?
the particles of dust may not enter.
Very good. The nose is lined with actually the hair, and apart from that, it is also lined with the mucus. Why? So that the air that we breathe in, it comes from the atmosphere, right? So it contains dust particles along with it. So those hair and those mucous membrane of our nose is responsible for trapping that dust particle. So that is why our nasal cavity or the nose contains nasal hair. Clear? Now, it contains these many things that I'm writing right there on the screen. All of these are the component of the human respiratory system. We have the nose, the nasal cavity, the pharynx, larynx, the trachea, which is also known as the windpipe, bronchi, bronchioles, and lastly, the alveoli, which is the most important. Now moving forward, see the bronchioles. Now we must know the location. So the bronchioles and the alveoli, both of them are enclosed in a pair of lungs. We have lungs, right? Everyone has lungs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the bronchioles and the alveoli, only these two structures are present in the lung area of our body. Now, see, apart from the conducting structures and all the structures that are present in the human respiratory system, we also have the rib cage. We also have certain muscles, and we also have a diaphragm. All of these things are helpful in the process of inhalation and exhalation. So other structures, what are those other structures? Other structures such as rib cage. Then there is this thing, muscles, certain muscles that are associated, and there is also diaphragm. All of these structures help in the inhalation, which means inhalation means intake, right? Breathe in. So intake and exhalation of gases. This much is clear. These are certain extra structures that are present, that are the rib cage, the muscles that are associated, and the diaphragm. These structures help in the inhalation and exhalation of the gases. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. You people are noting it side by side, or do you need to note down right now?
I didn't finish noting it down.
You haven't? Okay, you people can note down. This is sort of like a brief of every single thing that is present in the human respiratory system.